What's up, Joe?
Hey, just living the dream. How about you?
Uh, Happy not to be in
Holding any
the
Luna?
Terra Luna UST ecosystem today. Pretty pleased with that.
No, I'm just adjusting this because I moved everything around today. Tidy up.
There you go. Yeah, so we got a bit of a clusterfuck happening in crypto
Oh
land
yeah.
with one project single-handedly driving the rest of the market down. Um, Luna unloading uh, uh, players in the space unloading ETH for UST to try to get it back to peg. But I'm hoping to have a really good guest on tomorrow to go for this a more in-depth review for us. But I am. It was just kind of crazy watching the whole thing unfold yesterday.
Yeah. Got apologies. I got some background noise today, everyone. I don't know if you can hear it, but it was an emergency air conditioner repair after the heat wave of the Formula One weekend. So
It's not horrible, so keep going.
okay,
No, I
good.
mean, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah. Look, um, obviously nasty stuff in the space right now. I mean that is just one of the things. But look, this is what I kind of want to not the Luna UST issue, but we want to see some, uh, we want to see this kind of wick down. I do anyhow. Look, we hit what 20 on Binance 29,730. What was that recently last night? Yeah. Um, I don't think that's the bottom myself, but this is what we need to see to clear out everything. So, I don't know what happens next, but obviously the Terra Luna thing, UST is sort of related to that sell off, right, Brad?
Yeah, well, look, I think a big part of driving this was unloading Bitcoin and unloading Ethereum to try to help it maintain its peg, all the reserves backing it. I saw a chart earlier today, and I've been trying to freaking find it. That supposedly is on the Terra website that shows the reserves and how much is left. And it looked like the Bitcoin reserves were completely out. Um, and one of the things that, that we talk about here is, and even Do Kwon published this. I had somebody today in an engagement with me talk about the fact that I think they misinterpreted a tweet I made, right? There was Janet Yellen was already using this today in a Senate banking committee to criticize crypto, right?
Yeah.
How dangerous it is, how horrible, et cetera, et cetera. And I retweeted it and said, we've got to get our act together in terms of the projects that we put money into. Now, it's hard to overcome that because we all degen into shit that's paying 20% interest. Niblet said, yes, this is all Joe's fault. After he meets with the Pentaverate at F1, then suddenly claps. Yeah, totally Joe's fault. I'm going to go with that, man. Let's go with that. Let's
I
go with
love it,
that.
Niblets. Yeah, I love it.
Um, so I tweeted and said, this is where we're screwing up. Is we're all degening into 19% interest, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't, but generally I have in the past into things like Titan and Iron. And we all want those big, nice, juicy yields. But at the end of the day, we also have to start making choices that not only are about our own personal wealth. You could have gotten burned on this. A lot of people have, but also about the whole ecosystem, right? Because when we degen into something that's no better than what Iron Finance and Titan was, and actually probably worse in the way that it was set up and managed and the reserve system behind it because it wasn't collateralized, then when we put $18 billion worth of value into something, we run the risk of systematic collapse, right? And we saw that yesterday. We saw this run on the bank, on the UST bank, decimate and harm every aspect of crypto. And the other thing it does is all of the projects that decided they were in on this, the earnings that they could get from UST by being in that ecosystem, they all got their treasuries nicked or damaged severely. And so it's this, domino effect of we have to start thinking about the interactions between the protocols in this space. And the thing that was frustrating, well, first of all, somebody replied and said, well, we have to have decentralized algo stablecoins. I said, I 100% agree, but this isn't decentralized. And even Do Kwon talked about this yesterday when he was trying to tweet and say that they were trying to save it. He retweeted this tweet. Here, let me show this. He says, he retweeted a tweet from Jose Maria Mercado. It said, haters will criticize this for centralization, and they're right for now. LFG, which is the Luna Foundation, whatever, made UST more robust, but also temporarily more centralized. Fully decentralized reserve mechanism described by @Jump. Jump is our favorite venture capitalist group.
Yeah, they're in everything.
Steals domains from old men. Is being worked on by the Astroport Phi team as we speak. So, in other words, the council, DOE, voted to deploy 1.5 billion in capital, and they have had to manage this thing centralized. It's a bunch of human beings trying to maintain the peg of this supposedly algorithmic stablecoin, and it can't handle it. It obviously was not designed to handle this kind of a run. And kind of the ego-blinded philosophy of Do Kwon and others in this space are the things that cause us harm, because when people wrote up thoughtful criticisms of this protocol, right, and spent the time to do the numbers and do the analysis and say, last week, there were articles being published saying this thing can collapse and probably will. He was like, brushing them off and saying what idiots they were for not understanding what they built, right? Well, here we are with this massive collapse that impacts the entire ecosystem, and now is impacting us with Congress because too many people like to blindly follow egotistical founders. And I don't personally get it, but the thing is, to me, is trying to make an argument that this is a decentralized stablecoin is just ludicrous. I mean, it's just insane. So what was really interesting was the founder of Avalanche, who is heavily in bed with UST. UST put in a shit ton of money over there, and Avalanche has been betting heavily on UST, does a thread trying to rationalize that UST, not only is UST going to be okay, but that UST should be the only algorithmic stablecoin, right? So this is just an epic thread. So
reach.
Yeah, total reach. He says, I've always said that algo stables are subject to destabilizing bank runs. Yeah, duh. No fucking shit.
Oh, well, let's give them a prize.
Since all of them except Frax has failed, the only mechanism that can defend against this is a strong, active team that performs open market operations. So the entire ecosystem, which he argues in a minute, the entire ecosystem of DeFi needs to be dependent on this token that requires human beings adept at trading and market algorithms to make sure that if people say, fuck you, this thing is dangerous, and I'm bailing on it, that they need a group of humans to trade against it to actually make it stable. This is the entire crux of his argument.
Well, right? And not only that, but a small centralized team of humans.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and if they're sleeping like Danielle was, sorry, you're all fucked. The entire ecosystem is fucked, right? So he says we need a decentralized stablecoin. Fiat-backed stables are subject to legal seizure and capture. A decentralized economy needs a decentralized stablecoin. One tweet in this thread I agree with. They cannot be frozen or confiscated. This is my favorite. This is my absolute. This is the winner. There isn't room in the market for a dozen or half a dozen or even just two algorithmic stablecoins. This is a market where the biggest one wins and all others lose. So what this idiot is saying, and I gave this guy a second chance. I knew he was a lot like Doe, right? Because that's how his attitude has been in the past. He chilled out on it and he came back and he started being more reasonable in his public communications about Avalanche, because I'm sure everyone that invested in Avalanche is like, dude, you're making us look bad, right? But then he comes along and says something like this, like, we need one algorithmic stablecoin to be the linchpin for the entire fucking DeFi ecosystem. This is the stupidest take I've seen in a long time in DeFi. And it's all based on his incentives. His incentives are tied to UST. Avalanche is now tied to UST. And frankly, I don't feel like I can trust Avalanche right now with this kind of perspective coming out from the founding leader of the protocol. I'm really nervous about it. I still love a lot of the projects on there. I think there's a lot of capabilities and power. I love the subnet stuff. I think there's a lot of possibilities, but to make a comment like this to me is just brain dead.
Well, I mean, my read on that one is a judgment call of, anointing the winner when the winner's going in the shitter. That makes a big mistake. That's the one, dude. All right. That's a huge judgment call on my just basic intelligence level. Obviously, he's pumping it.
Yeah.
Second thing is that the more algorithmic stable coins, the better, because you want them arbing against everybody else. So if one goes bad, then the other ones come in and adjust per that bad performance.
Yeah. So the entire ecosystem isn't in one, right?
Yeah.
The dependencies don't crush the entire market when one fails like this one has. It's insanity. Yeah. That he would tweet this is insanity to me. He said, if there's a decentralized stablecoin that succeeds, it'll be the one with the biggest value and the most battle-tested team. Let that sink in. It's not a game where Johnny come lately has a chance. Hope it's like, oh, nobody else can innovate because we have to have the biggest one win, and then everyone should fuck off and not try. Hope you all can see why you should not touch copycat algo stables issued by purely technical teams. If the team's claim to fame is that they were once interns at Google, they are not going to make it. The team that has the best open market operations is the only one that can pull it off. Again, we have to depend on an algo stablecoin not being algorithmic. For various regulatory reasons, there's no way this is a dig directly at Frax because Sam Kazemian is from the US.
Yeah.
There's no way a USA-based team can succeed in an algo stable. Pretty much only a Korean, Singaporean, or Swiss team has the right regulatory environment. All others are ticking time bombs. Well, only ticking time bombs if regulators can get their hands on shutting down the algorithm and the coin because it's centralized. If it's decentralized, it doesn't matter. They may arrest the founders, but it doesn't change the fact that a decentralized algorithmic stablecoin exists and it can't be shut down. The underlying chain has to,
Good point.
The underlying chain has to offer high capacity and resilience under load.
Duh. I mean, like, what do we?
Wait.
Okay, rocket science here.
Yeah. Few chains have the right mempool fee and API infra to handle high loads. In other words, only Avalanche can have an algorithmic stablecoin on it. We're the only ones that can handle it. Terra and Avalanche. That's it. You got to have that. The space is incredibly resilient. We just weathered a substantial bank run. What's the price of UST today? Is it at $1?
90 cents right now.
90 cents. So we're still 10% off the fucking peg. Still billions of dollars sunk into trying to get it back. Yeah. Give me a break. I'm not.
Okay, I'm just reading out ahead of you. Go ahead.
I'm not the least bit surprised by UST's resilience. Remember that every single stablecoin has at times depegged, including fully collateralized fiat-backed stablecoins. All of them that have a real team behind them have bounced back. The bounce back is a great arbitrage opportunity. The dynamic that gives rise to a bank run executes in reverse on the way back. More complex stablecoin designs seem unlikely to be more stable under a bank run. The simpler the mechanism, the easier it is to understand and implement. I can imagine many more complex designs. I can't imagine that any of them would achieve better stability. Every single sovereign currency had difficulty maintaining advertised pegs, blah, blah, blah. Before anyone says, hey, open market operations by a team doesn't seem decentralized, remember that the value proposition here is to create an asset whose backing store is decentralized and can't be confiscated or frozen. A capable team is absolutely essential for this. Again, he's saying that the store, the backing won't be centralized, but the team running and deciding how it stays pegged is.
So the person who controls all the capital
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, the UST depegging played out exactly as we saw in past historical cases. I'm even more bearish on all copycats and bullish on UST once the dust settles down. Here's the problem. Nobody's going to trust this shit ever again. Nobody. I mean, except for the true believers, you know, or the people still have $1.5 billion in it. Nobody is going to trust this. What protocol would build on UST or Terra? You're insane.
Yeah, it doesn't. At this point, I would think everybody's reassessing right now. It's in the middle of projects.
When you have other options, when you have Frax, when you have potentially Bean, when you have USDC, the one I hate the most, you know, USDT, why? Why would anyone bet their career, their protocol, their vision, their idea, their dream on one that has failed so miserably?
Yeah. Well, so the dynamics, remember when they started buying up the BTC to back it up, to collateralize it? That was pretty recent. That was in the last couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, last month.
Yeah. So I'm wondering what they did with the BTC that they were holding on their balance sheet, if they put it somewhere for a loan to borrow against it.
Well, they did loan to market makers yesterday at 1.5 billion.
Okay.
To get them to trade it up, right?
Buy
and try to pull it back up. But
so they're based on, my point is that they're probably 25 to 30% down on the BTC they bought to collateralize.
Oh,
UST.
Yeah. And
so they got in a situation where they had to dump it.
Yeah, and they caused their own dump on their reserve assets.
Yeah, that doesn't, you know, I wonder if
I wish I could find
I don't
that
know,
fucking chart.
Any scenario where it's better to just hold the reserves and let it bottom out and then come in strong and buy it?
Probably would have been the thing to do, but I think reputationally they were probably freaking out that, you know, that everyone was going to continue to bail on it, you know,
and their own personal assets as well, of course.
Exactly. I wish I could find those charts that shows the reserve assets. I just can't find them. I don't know where they keep it. So, you know, it's like bad take after bad take. Now, Doe, where's Doe? Where's Doe? I had Doe. Oh, here it is. This is Doe's.
Deer, a female deer.
Here's Doe's.
Ray, a drop of golden sun.
Here's Doe's wall. Here's the last tweet from Doe. Close to announcing a recovery plan for UST. Hang tight.
Good for you.
Good. It's so exciting that we're all dependent on a stable algorithmic stable coin that now needs a recovery plan.
Well, the best part is if you come in now, you can, you know, swing for the fences and your returns are capped at about 11%.
Right.
so it's like go to zero, make 11%.
Right.
I might be looking somewhere else at that point, like Phantom and Define and Sif Chain and groups like that, you know.
I'd rather, like, you know,
Matic.
I'd rather invest in USDB, Phantom's new stable coin, than this thing. I love this tweet from 21 hours ago. Deploying more capital, steady lads.
Sounds like he's, you know, a 14-year-old British prep school kid looking at his Tattler magazine.
Yeah, but thinks he's the Pirates captain.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry for people losing the money, but
I am too.
You know, I mean, this is one where I think I got into Luna when it was like at $1, and I rode it up to like 7 and sold it, then bought back in at maybe 4-ish and sold it at 12. And, you know, was kind of kicking myself when I watched how high it went. But, you know, again, anybody that rode to the peaks of this, I sure as heck hope you sold some.
Yeah. We may have tomorrow the legendary Fubar, who's done a great piece on exactly how this occurred. He's tentatively agreed to appear tomorrow's show. Did this great article comparing it to Iron Finance's Titan Bank run, which, by the way, was 75% collateralized. And up until the Bitcoin buys, UST was 0% collateralized. So anyway, this is a really good piece. I'm hoping we can get him on tomorrow to talk through it all. But what I find amazing is the fact that these guys continue. At some point, the venture capitalists continuing to pile money in this. When do they pull the plug, Joe? I mean, when do they say, wait a minute, how much fucking more do we have to? I mean, look at Jump, 650 million. Now it's rumored they're going to put 1 to 2 billion in to sustain this fucking thing. Why is this any better than USDC? Except it doesn't have a backdoor, right? When does a VC say, fuck this, I'm out?
I think people sometimes, all the rage right now, of course, is infrastructure, particularly DeFi infrastructure. And a lot of people, like when you look at every little DeFi 101 primer out there on the internet, it's a component of DeFi, they say stable coins. So I think that what's happening is a lot of people that can't tell, aren't willing to make the guess or the bet on which protocols might win, think, okay, we're going to get DeFi exposure, but we're in stable coins.
Right.
I mean, we'll get yield and this and that. I think they just sort of forget that stuff like this can happen. Like when I look at this Terra Luna fiasco, there's people out there, as soon as they started buying Bitcoin in those big tranches, we're like, there's our exit liquidity right there.
Right.
So, they're like, okay, let's play the game and, dump it. And so then arbitrageurs quit and there's no support. So to me, I think it puts a target on you. I mean, I kind of like my own sense is I like the uncollateralized algorithmic stable coins myself.
Me too.
Because it's, it takes away that incentive.
Yeah.
And at the same time, most currency, fiat currency is, you can make the argument that, say, it's collateralized by the overall, GDP of the sovereign state's economy or the economic size of that. You could argue that, because if you're going to back it with the full faith and credit of the government, then technically that is the collateral base. But there is no like real physical collateral.
Right.
There's not. What did we say the other day that M1 was like $21 trillion or something like that?
Right.
There's not $21 trillion of gold sitting in Fort Knox. If there's only 10 trillion in gold in the entire planet, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure that math out.
And since we don't officially back it anymore,
there's nothing. It is what people think it is. It is what, you go up to someone, everybody knows that's $1.
Yeah.
And $1 can buy $1 worth of things. There's no issues. So to me, I think a stable coin has to get to that level. But I don't think it's the main driving coin of the ecosystem. I think that it has to somehow then get pegged, like if I'm doing algorithmic, I'm not just looking at algorithmic ones, I'm pegging to stables as well.
Right.
Some algorithmic formula, whatever that is, I have no idea of how to weight it or what the weighting should be. But I'd be looking at those too, the ones that are backed by, like USDC. Jury's still out on USDT in my mind, but it seems like that story's kind of settled down a bit from last year.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're doing more and more to disclose. They're doing more and more to reduce their dependence on leverage and have actual cash on hand. But again,
Yeah. But the point is,
it's centralized. It's a backdoor, just like USDC. They're basically the same thing.
Yeah. So, but you got to have the algorithmic ones too, because it's just another diversification play.
Yep. Exactly.
If you want a basket of assets that's just, a perfect example is the S&P index right now. Still, we're going to take some
hits,
I think, little bits in the next year. Of course, there's going to be trade-offs. People rebalance every time the Fed hikes or, readjust the models. But, 30 years from now, it's going to have outperformed everything else because dollar's getting stronger. What happens when that happens? Everybody around the world starts sending their currency into US dollar denominated assets.
Yep.
And, they're like, well, hell, it's going to be the last one standing if everything else falls apart. So you have to sort of somehow, peg to those and, and then have the additional kind of decentralized one laying on top. I don't know how to do it. I'm just thinking out loud as we're talking. But to me, that makes the most sense. Otherwise, there are always going to be juicy targets.
Absolutely. Look, I don't trust Do Kwon to be the Fed.
Yeah.
We already have a Fed. We already have a bunch of people manually manipulating prices and inflation. We don't need another one. That's not what DeFi is about, right? DeFi is supposed to be about code and permissionlessness and,
user adoption,
freedom. And this is just that they're all out there making this argument to me is just It's just insane. Absolutely
Well,
insane.
it's DeFi to me is everything that enables, decentralized peer-to-peer financial transactions.
Yep.
Lending, borrowing, investing, whatever, all of those things, anything to do with finance, taking out middlemen so that, you get the best deal and the highest velocity of capital. Doesn't mean the banks can't play in it eventually, but I don't think that they're playing in it now in the
No.
way that corrupts the system or gets control of, say, choke points or bottlenecks. So to me, I think the faster we get a full, pure, uncollateralized algorithmic stablecoin out there in DeFi to the masses, that's what creates the thing I think we're all looking for.
Yep.
Obviously, institutional guys, big heavy hitters will still go to banks, and banks will still have institutional trading desks and wealth management people that do DeFi for clients that don't want to know it. And I think that's fine too. But I think the underlying system has to be so decentralized, like, in a way, like, I hate to throw a bone to these guys, but in the way that BTC is built.
Yeah, sure, of course.
That it's self-healing, self-propagating, self-everything, and then everybody trades around it.
No, look, I totally agree. Look, the goal of all of these protocols has to be decentralization. It has to be. So we're not there yet.
No.
Ethereum's the closest in terms of getting to BTC state, and there's still centralized components of Bitcoin that my buddy XBT is
pointed out to you.
No, that I've pointed out to him. That we debate back and forth. We debate.
Yeah, I love his style. He doesn't. So
he's always
so many dialogues are toxic.
Yeah, he's respectful.
He is not toxic at all.
No.
And as far as Janet Yellen and this stuff, we know stable coins are at the top of the list for the Treasury right now.
Of course.
Because that's where the dollar bumps up against things, is at these stable coins. And so they watch. So anything like, I don't know what she's saying in that feed I'm looking at on your Twitter screen, but, I'm sure it's about, this is the kind of stuff that can happen because, you don't see the dollar devalue, 60% in a day.
Right.
Just knock on wood. But you got to have a trade, somebody on the other side to make that trade too. So
exactly,
to me, that's why it doesn't happen. It is, even though it's centralized, there's so many users, it's decentralized in a way, in that nobody can really corner it and move it too far, too fast. And that's called stability. People with all the money don't want the money to disappear. Finance 101 is about not losing money. It's not about making money. So, anybody with it, they're happy with the 2-3%. It's the people that don't have it that, want to hit big wins like us.
Yep.
So, but you got to be sensible. It can't be like gambling. So I think we're going to find that compromise somehow come together here in ways that we're not seeing yet. But when you see shit like this, yes, it creates the whole, what's the fear and FUD index today? Like 7?
Oh, fear and greed. Let me go
back after this. It was 11 yesterday, right?
Go back to drops. Yeah, it was 11 yesterday.
I wonder what it is.
10.
10. All right, here we go. So
but this is interesting. Look at this. Bitcoin longs. This was flipped yesterday. Today, total Bitcoin longs 55.02%, shorts 44.98%. Joe, I can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry, I got something going on back there noise-wise. But yeah, I'd love to see what those liquidity stacks look like down in like 21, 25,000. Right. How much is sitting on 28,000? You might be. Can you see that in fire charts?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Let me see if I can get Kingfisher if they got a chart up. Let me see. Of course, I got to catch up with my 1,336 messages there, which is usually me clicking to the last message and saying
exactly.
Okay, here's open price by strike, 24th of June, 22. Max pain is at 44,000. So I guess this must be the CME stuff. Intrinsic value. Lots of shorts at 60,000. There's a lot of buying down on 25,000. Looks like 20,000. And there's a decent pile up at like in the 30-31 range. So, that tells me that, look, it looks like the cap is set at 60. but I don't see how it gets through 25,000 if there's a big wick down.
Right.
I think a lot of that steam's already been taken out. So
Well,
now
let's
we're in
hope
that
so.
area where, maybe we could start rallying up a little bit. I mean, I don't think this would be the big blow off top rally, but I think it could
Right.
be a nice rally, like a month rally or something that nobody's expecting. I
Well,
don't know. What do you think?
the good news is that this has pushed Maker up to be one of the only 7 or 8 coins that are actually up in the last 24 hours, because everybody's piling into Maker and figures out of the wreckage of UST. Everyone will go back and buy DAI and use DAI. So that's interesting. Really interesting that CRO crypto.com's coin is up 1.86%. Was down 20% on the week, but 1.86% in the last 24 hours. I don't know what the fuck Leo token is.
They were the big. Sorry, I was muted. They were the big main sponsor at the Formula One race. They were all over Miami this week. Crypto.com.
Oh, okay.
So it could just be some exposure. They had big paddock promotion tent out there at like 30,000 a seat for whatever at the race. But I'm sure that they were whining and dining.
Oh yeah.
Their whole institutional desk was here.
I'm sure. It's crazy.
So that could be it.
All right. One more thing. So speaking of centralized entity, Circle, that is that is USDC. This is actually pretty interesting. And I got into a little discussion with Fubar on Twitter about this today, but he was basically calling them out. He said, "This is gross. Why are you releasing products like this?" And the reason he called this product gross is because his belief that it encourages permissioned crypto, right? So this is a decentralized identity tool for users that allows them to have all their personal information on their own machines stored, and allows them to determine what protocols can access what information, whether it's name, email, social security number, whatever. And my point back to Fubar was, look, I get where you're coming from, that we really want totally permissionless, decentralized, non-KYC, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, protocols in the United States are going to buckle under the pressure for identification so they can tap into this market. And so when it's required, if there is a simple, easy way for users to protect their identity and provide it to protocols that have to have it for compliance, this to me looks like a really good solution. And I'm no fan of USDC. Everybody knows that. But this is actually strategically a smart move on their part. It's free. Anybody can use it. Anybody can build on it. It's open source. And it provides something valuable, I think, to end users for protecting their data, which is something that in general we need, because we know that all of Web 2 operates off of exploiting our data. So I actually think this is a good move by Circle. And there are other tools like this in the market, but I think this tool has potential.
Well, it fits into the other trend about, a lot of these groups now are moving away from passwords, not crypto space, but other spaces, based upon, a browser fingerprint, location, your phone. I mean, you ever wonder how you can go to the airport now and you don't have to show ID? You just show the phone.
Right.
It just tells you how much the phone is your ID at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anything that makes this easier with high security, where people don't have to sit there and, worry about everything from seed phrases to, doing it on an open browser somewhere. I mean, just things that make it kind of like we talked about a few years ago, the biological proof of identity.
Yep.
Where you have these different mechanisms that are going to be infrastructure plays around access and authentication, and just makes it easier. You don't have to go through all the steps, everything from banks, to social media.
Well, I'd love to see every website on the internet utilize my wallet for login, right? And then if I have something like this where I can choose what I reveal or don't reveal based on what I want access to in that system, that to me makes total sense. I love logging into websites and DeFi and Web3, being able to do that and authorize it through my wallet. To me, that's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So I think this is a solution. I don't think the pressure from regulators in the US is going away. And I think that protocols that want to be in the US market are going to need this. And of course, centralized exchanges need this. So it makes total sense. Coinbank backs Circle, so I know they'll be in on this. I saw Algorand is partnering and some others. So look, end of the day, we need some way to make sure people are safe and protected while also dealing with the fact that if you want to operate with US customers and you are US based, you're going to have to
your KYC AML stuff.
Exactly.
You know, it's funny. I saw just a little joke I wanted to share. It's a little thing. Someone says that regarding Luna and UST, it's not a DPEG, it's quantitative easing.
That's funny as shit. I saw another one. Hold on, let me see if I can find this one. Somebody, because we were talking a couple of weeks ago about Doe saying, "By my hands, die will die." So I want to see if I can find this. This
yeah, I mean, I hate those. That's just so stupid
shit. It's that pompous ego shit, and it's all over DeFi. Don't get me wrong; it happens all over the place. I'm just personally going to bet on the protocols that are run by sensible, smart.
Yeah, it reminds me of the playground stuff too. Like I remember when I was a kid, he's basically saying, "All right, die, I'm getting ready to punch you in the face."
Exactly.
And so if someone walks up to you on the playground and we were kids and said, "Oh, I'm getting ready to punch you in the face," what's the first thing you do? Punch him in the face first. Exactly. So it's just the stupidest thing, telegraphing your moves. Exactly. You're better off acting like you're not going to do anything and then do it behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly.
So nobody knows. Take them out. But, you don't go up and announce your move to the world. That's just the stupidest, most egotistical thing you could possibly do.
Exactly. Anyway, I can't find the meme. It was funny as shit. I should have saved it. But whatever. It is what it is. Joe, what else you got?
I got some Doge stuff. I saw that Doge WordPress is now websites now can take Doge. Like I guess opens up 433 million customers for them. And then I've been thinking about like the Doge Twitter thing. The in-app payments that Elon's talking about. I mean, I think it's probably better than 50%. He would go with Doge on that.
Right.
So I'm kind of looking at that as much as I have trashed dog coins forever.
Of course.
If this takes a meaningful drop here, it might be a place to do something. Because now WordPress, Twitter.
What's Doge looking like today?
I think it was at like 11 cents the other day, but let's just.
All it takes is giving it utility, and this thing's going to explode as far as I'm concerned.
That's my read too. I mean,
it's at 11 cents. So down 1.5% in the last 24 hours. 1.84%. Down 13.72% in the last 7 days. 27.53% in the last 30 days. I might do a little stacking just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, just because of before, the reason I hated these coins is because they really had, it's straight up gambling. You really are just betting on which way it's going to go. And what, a $14 billion market cap or something like that? What is it?
Right.
Yeah, 14.65. It just seems absurd. But now I'm like, if it's his favorite and Twitter and now WordPress, I mean, that's a pretty big friggin' use case.
Totally agree.
On its own. So I might start picking some of that up is kind of what I'm thinking about.
Hey, it's cheap.
Yeah, and it's 11 cents. So you can go in. And if there's a dip, if there's a big correction still coming, you might be able to get it for 5 or 6 cents.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
I mean, that's when I start, because my belief is, I know you share this, is that you just look at the cycles. I mean, there's obviously cycles in these different coins.
Yeah.
But also we have the big macro overhang going on right now with, the ending of the quantitative easing, more to tightening, inflationary, war, all of these things hanging over the market, where I believe there will be a correction in S&P 500. I don't know when, I don't know how much. It's probably going to be gradual, like we've endured in this since Pumptober to now. I think it's going to be kind of like a little slide. But every time the Fed changes interest rates, remember, it's really about what the people that value all these assets think interest rates is going to be. And so, the little flurry was a lot of people were thinking it was going to be 75 basis points hike each time. And when Jay Powell locked in on 50, that settles the street. But now everybody's like, okay, we got a little money that day, and now we're thinking, what do we do next? And when's the next hike coming? So they're all anticipating that. Well, every time that hike occurs, it changes the cost of capital, which is, part of the valuation. Whether it's Black-Scholes or anything else, you're really looking at that cost of capital number it's a pretty significant hit when you come back to discounting cash flows back to a value. So the algorithms will reprice those stocks what the true value is. And it's going to be lower just because the denominator's going up.
Yep.
So, that has to happen. So you want that to be orderly, not a panic.
Yep.
And if we can hold this together, I think with, the May Day or the May 9th victory parade in Moscow, it wasn't escalatory. It looks to me like everybody's trying to settle that down now at this point. And the growth numbers are still there. Employment numbers are still there. Dollar's getting stronger, which is going to affect import-export balances to the not good side for the U.S. To me, I think things are kind of look like we could get through this in a way where it's not going to be a 08, 09 situation. And maybe not even a 2018, 2019 situation.
I agree, man. I forgot completely. Oh, wait. Did you see the meme?
Which one? Karma's a bitch. Yeah.
By my hands, I will die.
That is hysterical.
Joe, there was actually some news yesterday. Polygon announced that they have been working with Meta for months, and that is they are the Instagram NFT foundations for Instagram is Polygon. So Polygon actually has a partnership with Meta, formerly Facebook, and are building this infrastructure for Instagram. So that to me gives me a nice little, warm and fuzzy feeling about Matic right about now.
Well, it's had a nice little run back up to what, 90 cents?
Yep.
I think 91.89. Yeah.
Up 5.92% in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, we love Polygon or Matic.
Yep.
Always have, man. Ever since we rolled out on, what was that, like February of last year? The Doki Doki stuff going to Matic. And that's when I first learned about other chains.
Yeah.
In a way where I started using them. And it was like, holy shit, gas fees are like zero here.
Yeah.
Versus I think we were screaming about $40 on Ethereum at that point.
Yeah.
Before it went to 170.
And as much as we all hate Meta, and that's a pretty much a universal truth, except that billions of people still use their product, Facebook, every single friggin' day.
Boomers.
And my wife.
I've never used it ever.
Oh, I used to use it a lot. I don't anymore. I go in, when I have to wish somebody a happy birthday or tell the world how wonderful my wife is. The fact is they have billions of users.
Yeah.
And the fact is that Instagram is a great gateway for NFTs into crypto. And that reach is absolutely gigantic. And people were complaining to the guys at Polygon when they announced it yesterday, dude, this is the worst fucking day to announce this. Like, you're not going to get the benefits from it, right? Because the bounce could have been much bigger if it was on an up day or at least a sideways day if they had waited to hold the announcement of the partnership. Polygon's response was, we announce things every few days, so we just don't time.
I would go the other side on that too. I'm like, look, you hold up and I use it to hold up on a down day, and then when the market stabilizes, everybody's like, holy shit, we forgot about that Meta deal.
Right.
And the Insta deal, basically, that's what I'd be calling it, the Insta deal.
Insta deal, yeah, exactly.
Because that still has traction. Again, I don't use it, but look, here's the play. Minting NFTs on Polygon is so much less expensive and less, carbon impact than Ethereum and the other ones. So that's a win-win across the board.
Absolutely. No, I think anything that will drive new users into experiencing any aspect of crypto is a positive thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely positive. It's why I like the play to earn. It's why I like the exercise to earn. I like projects like Walk-In because those drive users in. One of the first things I told the Walk-In guys was, this is great, awesome concept. Now let's add DeFi to the interface, right? Let's add in DeFi so we can expose people to simple aspects of financial freedom. And the beauty of getting people on Instagram to have NFTs and post them is cannot be underappreciated. And here's the thing, right? What's the next step? Do you start creating a marketplace there? Like, does Instagram become an NFT marketplace? I don't know how they'll deal with regulators and everything else, but the potential is tremendous. Today, it's just displaying your existing NFTs. But imagine influencers on that platform launching their own NFTs and selling them, or at least linking to sales on a Polygon-based NFT marketplace. Tremendous potential, just absolutely tremendous. So I think this has a ton of potential. I'm glad to see Polygon making those moves. It also tells me their biz dev team is fucking awesome. They're always making more deals. So I love that. And biz dev community and biz dev are the critical components to success in this space. So,
well, look, I could see now that we're just talking about this, I could see Meta or Insta buying OpenSea,
sure,
or another NFT platform on Polygon. I mean, that's the logical next move to bring a bunch of customers back into Insta.
Exactly. No, buy Wearable or one of the other ones that are cheaper.
Yeah, I don't know who else is doing stuff on Rarible. You said
I think Rarible's on Polygon.
Is Foundation on Polygon?
Don't know.
More artsy.
I don't know.
There was another thing I was going to say that so far this year, over another 3,008 Bitcoin ATMs have been installed since the beginning of 2022.
Well, that's good.
23 a day. Looks like there's now almost 40,000. Yeah, that one. 40,000 Bitcoin ATMs around the world.
That's amazing. I won't ever use one because the prices you're always getting janked on the prices, but it's still awesome that it's out there for people to get it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I didn't know Bitcoin's been designated legal cash in Central African Republic as well.
Yeah.
CAR. I didn't know that. There was one other thing I picked up too, that was Binance agreeing to an exclusive crypto sponsorship deal with the Brazilian Football Association.
Aha.
So again, that's a big market, obviously.
Yeah, just more and more permeation into the real world, man. Seeing the brands, seeing what it can do, playing with it, buying NFTs, displaying NFTs, etc. It's just awesome.
And Binance is also buying a local regulated exchange there, Simpal Investimentos.
Wait, what the fuck is this headline? Dogecoin returns as most popular smart contract among whales?
Yeah.
Wait,
I was wanting to look at whale stats I was thinking of, because remember we looked at it with Shiba a couple weeks ago?
It's not a smart contract, though. Whoever wrote this article is an idiot.
Oh, of course it is full of idiots.
They've talked about adding smart contract capability to the chain, but it doesn't have it now. Okay, I'm sorry.
Robinhood holds 40 billion. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, they're gearing that up for a pump and dump.
There you go. Well, Joe, yeah. I think that's it for the day, buddy.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think that everything's, holding up better than to be expected, honestly.
Perfect.
I'm seeing some nice rallies. Doge is starting to move now that it's cranking up again. And I'm on a 3-minute candle, so
yeah.
Let me see what BTC is looking like before we go. BTC looks like it's arcing up a little bit. UST is still at 90.72, but it's trending up.
That's awesome.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know. What's the U.S. stock market doing real quick before we go? It's up. That's S&P 100. Hold on, let's look at the full indexes here. And then we'll roll it. Well, Dow's off, less 0.75%. NASDAQ's up a tiny bit. Yeah, so it's a neutral day in my mind. Nothing big happening there. So let's hope tomorrow looks a little bit better.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you. We love you. Please, if you get a chance, rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, or if you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, please subscribe, follow, et cetera, et cetera. Click the little bell in YouTube to make sure you get notified when new episodes come out. And we always appreciate a thumbs up or a comment or review. If you have any thoughts, questions, ideas, feedback, projects we should take a look at, please don't hesitate to send me a DM on Twitter, B05Crypto. On Telegram, it's the same. And on Discord, it's B05Crypto, #2143. My DMs are open. We love you. We appreciate you. Joe, have a great day.
You too.